all the recordings and surveys. The web's been dropped, or the link's been dropped into the chat by Sam Amato. The old page that was under FAMIT's purview isn't accessible to update. So that one is kind of in a static hold right now. So the new link was dropped in the chat by Sam. The next thing, there will be a link to this focus group survey form. It is a short survey, maybe about 10 questions. I'd really appreciate if everyone could take some time and fill that out after this presentation. Your feedback is important as we move forward with the development of the NextGen product. Next, we'll be doing a combination of screenshots today from they're like wireframe makeups of the application. Because right now we're also still waiting to get everyone accessibility to log in, the ability to log into the NextGen WFDSS application, the UAT environment, which is the user acceptance testing. We're still working on all of that stuff. So with that, we'll move into the presentation. Let me move over here and reshare my presentation with you guys. I'm only on one screen today, so hopefully the RD&A folks can help me out. Is everything working okay, Sam, on that side?
Yep, that's okay. Good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a little harder to see on my end today.
No worries.
Get this in slideshow view. Just had it working. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. So we'll get into the fire behavior analysis status and how that's working for this NextGen. As you can see by the screen, the flows got a lot of little boxes, and at least there's no big do loops where you can get stuck and stuff like that. So we'll dive into each one of these sections a little closer because there's a lot to see on this slide. So moving to the first section, we're going to cover the users will be able to create an analysis from the same place in the application, whether you're an incident editor, you might be making a request from that spot, or if you are an analyst and have those privileges, you'll be able to create an analysis to run and complete. So with that, here's a quick screenshot of what that's going to look like. Once you get into your incident, you would go to the analysis tab. You'll be able to choose what kind of analysis you need. Provided a name if you're an analyst, and everyone will, whether you're a requester or an analyst, you can add a note also at this point. Okay, and then once your analysis request or startup has started, you'll have a page here where you can start filling in all your required information. You accept the analysis here. You can choose your number of fires and everything else as you move on through the system. With that, that's the first step, requesting or creating an analysis. Moving on, now you get into the status flow of where you'll be able to run this analysis as an analyst, and it becomes a request that's set up and then sent to the fire modeling system framework. And so it'll be done asynchronous from the application. At this point, until you press run, the status of an analysis will be assigned. Once you get it into processing and sent off to the framework, it'll then turn to processing. And then moving into this, it's starting to get a little bit more complicated with more text on the screen for people who will be viewing the slideshow without someone talking. So basically, once an analysis is processing, it'll have 3 stages of statuses that could be returned. It can be terminated and show terminated. It can fail and show failed, or when it's done and complete, it'll say review. That's those 3 come after the processing status. The terminated and failed runs can be copied to do over and rerun.
You're supposed to push to call somebody back.
Not sure. I don't think that was for us.
Marlena, you're muted.
Sure if I muted myself or I got muted. Thank you. Sorry about that. The terminated and failed runs in the past, you could return to assigned status and rerun them. No longer will this be possible. It's a complicated software programming issue, but you'll be able to copy and redo those runs and proceed on with them. But there will no longer be any return to assigned status option in the application. So after you get one that completes an analysis that completes into review, you'll move on to the next one. Now that I had a click, I messed myself up. Here we go. So once you have an analysis to review, after that portion, you'll be able to then, I already talked about that. Sorry about that, guys. You'll have your choice of 4 statuses when completing an analysis. Once you accept it, you can status it for reference or status it for collaboration. And those are just what they say, status for reference and collaboration. Or you can move those forward into a status for complete for strategic use or complete for operational use. And we'll explain each one of those a little bit more here. The reference status is intended for runs, like maybe our notes for other analysts, maybe notes for yourself moving into, as you move through that incident into the future. And they can be changed to complete or for strategic use or complete for operational use at any time. They can also be copied and rerun, and they're retained in the application. So now we'll talk about the calibration runs. A little bit more detail. Maybe it is a calibration run, not just a notes run for reference. So you can mark it as such. It can also be moved forward to the purple color for complete for strategic use or complete for operational use. Can be copied and it'll be retained in the system. So the status of reference and calibration, both of those can be moved forward to complete for strategic use or complete for operational use. Now I'll get into those statuses. So the strategic use status is for results that will be used for the strategic incident decision. So that's your basic WFDSS decision that we've all been making, right? So you'll have a near-term run, maybe you want to use in the decision or a FS Pro run, you'd mark it complete for strategic use. At that point, they'll be maintained in the system for NARA. They can be changed from either complete for strategic use or complete for operational use. They can't go back to reference or calibration at that point. So I'll say it one more time. They'll be complete for strategic use or complete for operational use. You can switch between those, but you can't go backwards to reference or calibration. You can still copy them and rerun them from there. And they'll be distributed throughout the system for the incident decision. So anybody working on the decision can use that run. Now we'll talk about the complete for operational status. This status is for operational decisions. You know, maybe you're modeling a burnout operation, or maybe you're modeling a potential spot over some line where you want to do some more construction. So those are operational decisions. Maybe you're looking on a strategic risk assessment or something like that. This status should be used to keep runs that were used in a management of the incident, but not necessarily needed for the strategic decision. Because I know myself as LTAN, I've done many runs that really were not necessary for the decision. So again, just like the other one, complete for operational use is going to be maintained for NARA. It can change back to complete for strategic use and back and forth. It cannot go back to reference or calibration. It can be copied forward and rerun. It will not be put into the strategic decision. So when folks are making the decision in the application, they won't have access to that run. But in the future, there's a plan for a tactical plan option. So in the future, it'll probably be placed for use in that portion of the application, if that all comes to fruition. So with that, a little bit more about what you're going to see in the application. The analyses can be viewed in the incident. Once they start showing up, you'll be able to go in under the analysis tab and see those. And then what else? That's where you access all the existing analyses. Just got two different shots of clicking on different buttons. Let's go back one. So that's inside the analysis, and then the next screen, you can see the new analysis is grayed out where you requested or created an analysis, and now you're looking at the existing analysis tab. So that's how that's going to work. Moving forward, you can go in while working on the analysis and be able to add notes when you're setting the status. This is a mock-up of what the screen should look like. So you'll have your analysis name and all that stuff. You can pick your status and then put your notes in there, very much like you do already when you accept an analysis. So let's move on. Oops. So there's a little simplified flow. So folks that are good with flows can probably follow this pretty easy. You request your analysis. That's your first status. It moves to assigned. It moves to processing. Once it processes, it's either in review status to move forward. It either failed or it was terminated. And just to remind folks, failed and terminated have to be copied over in order to move along with that same data for another analysis. Obviously, if it failed, there's some issues that need to be addressed and worked out so that it'll complete. Once it's in review status, it can be moved forward into either, there's 4 choices: reference, calibration, complete for strategic use, complete for operational use. So with that, short and quick, the PowerPoint will be up for everybody to review in more detail. Please complete the user survey. I dropped the link to that in the chat earlier, and that link is good. And it'll also be on that website that Sam put into the chat. Your input's important. And with that, since I can't see the questions real easy, Allison, are there a lot of questions? Do we have a lot of questions?
There's a couple coming in. One, Chris Moore would like you to follow up with him with a phone call, which I can give you that information later. Mary asks, when can/can't we delete a run?
That's a good question. Thinking, let me look back through my notes.
I was answering Mary in the chat, but I'll just do it verbally. So you can delete a run as long as it's not completed status. So you can delete a run anytime as long as it's not complete for operational use or complete for strategic use. Any other time you can delete it.
This is an off the Caldwell Jones.
Okay, so that means reference and calibration runs can be deleted. The ones showing complete for operational use or complete for strategic use cannot be deleted.
Great, thanks for that. We've got another one from Chip Collins. Does the analysis have to move from quote review to one of the 4 status categories?
It does need to move forward into one of the categories in order
If,
to stay in
yeah,
the system.
if it isn't, it will be deleted in a cleanup utility. I think that initially we were planning on a 2-year cleanup utility, but everything in review failed, terminate. I think those are all the green statuses. Those will all be cleaned up in a cleanup utility periodically. So if you don't have something in one of the purple or blue statuses, it'll get deleted by the system.
Okay, thanks. Lawrence, I will put the link in the chat again for you. Someone's just asking to see the link again. Jennifer Barnes asks, how long will the reference and calibration status be maintained in WFDSS NextGen? Is that the same as what you just answered, Sam, or is that a different answer?
It's a different answer. I tried to answer in the chat, and I'm not sure what's going on with my chat, but those will be retained, you know, until you delete them. They won't be caught up in any cleanup utilities, so they'll be retained until a user decides that they want to delete those analyses.
Okay, great. And I just put the link to the web page again for the information with the links to the forms and the recordings of previous sessions. So that's in there. If you can't access that, email Marlena or myself, Allison Mims, and we'll make sure we email that to you if you're having any issues with the chat. Those are all the questions I'm seeing right now in the chat. I don't see any hand raised, but we can wait just a few more moments if anybody has something lingering. Oh, I do see a hand raised from Richard. Go ahead, Richard. You can unmute.
Yeah, hey, I was wondering, are there any plans to like build in a feature so outputs could be pushed directly into like a NIFC AGOL web map as opposed to having to download and upload?
Yes, but they would have to be marked complete.
Right.
Okay.
Either one of the completion statuses will get pushed up to an AGL
Wanted
service.
to put on a BAM. Yeah, if you wanted to put it on a BAM, it would feed in through a service, but it would have to be in one of the complete statuses.
Okay, so that's built into the system currently. So once you complete a run, you'll have some opportunities to just feed into a service into a NIFC AGOL.
It's not currently functioning. That's planned functionality.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Not seeing anything more in the chat or any other raised hands. Anybody else? We've got a moment if you want to jump in there. Okay, we do have from Cordell Taylor. So does that mean these could be accessed into EGP through a PS function or accessed into EGP through a PS function?
If AGP decides to ingest the service, then EGP could display the outputs, but they'd have to ingest the service through NIFC AGOL.
Okay, thanks, Wes. And thank you from Cordell. Anything else, folks? It's your chance if you'd like to. Okay, Marlena, I'm not seeing anything else.
All right, great. And one last plug for that survey. It's on the page that Allison added in the last. So please take some time and fill that out. Your feedback's very important to the project. Have a good time or a good rest of your day, and let us know if you need anything.